My son Ethan said he wanted ribs for dinner, so I told my husband Mark to pick some up on his way home from work. He said he would. But he came back empty-handed that night, muttering, $25 a pound is way too expensive. We won't die if we skip one meal, we'll get some another day. With that, he excitedly tore open a package. Inside were a pair of intact wild red Piccio statues he'd bought for $2,500. When I asked how much they cost, he snapped, $5 for both. I nodded silently. That night, I cracked open some walnuts, scooped out the kernels, and served them on a plate. Mark sat down still clutching his phone, watching a live stream of walnut auctions with the volume turned up loud. A hammer walnut with perfectly aligned veins, pumpkin color, $3,000, absolute top grade. A 41mm T&D hat brim, flawless, sharp tip, $2,500, a total steal. He was so engrossed he didn't notice the lonely look on Ethan's face. It had been a week since Ethan first mentioned wanting ribs, and Mark had forgotten to buy them 3 times. The first time, he said he'd gotten off work too late. The second, he claimed the ribs weren't fresh. The third time today, fresh ribs on sale for $25 a pound, and he thought it was too pricey. Suddenly, the streamer's excited voice blared, "That 47mm tall Canon Lishue walnut is yours, Brother Mark. Thank you for your support. $3,500 total. Pay via your cart." Brother Mark was Mark. 1 zhong meant $100, 35 zhong was $3,500. He'd bought another pair of walnuts for $3,500. His monthly take-home pay was $9,000, $4,000 for the mortgage, $1,500 for the car loan, and $3,500 for household expenses, leaving him with nothing. The mortgage and car loan were paid off. All that was left was the $3,500 he owed me for groceries and utilities. Now he'd spend it. I knew. Just like the past 2 months, he'd say he had no money and would pay me next month. I pushed the vinegar-soaked walnuts toward Mark. His eyes still glued to the stream. He absent-mindedly stabbed a chopstick into the bowl and took a bite. His eyes lit up. "This side dish is good. Vinegar-soaked walnuts? Interesting." I said nothing. There were only 4 or 5 kernels. Ethan heard him and reached for a bite. But Mark snatched the plate and scraped all the walnuts into his own bowl, as if afraid of being robbed. Ethan pulled his hand back timidly. I stroked his head and asked Mark, "Tasty?" "Yeah, just too little. Make more next time." "Sure, then you buy more walnuts." "I don't have money this month. Can you cover it, wait?" Mark froze for 2 seconds, staring at the empty plate, then at the solid wood shelf where he kept his walnuts. It was empty. He glanced at the vinegar bowl, but the kernels were gone. He looked at me, then bolted into the kitchen. This time he found what he was looking for. The crushed shells of his $2,500 walnuts lay in the trash with the vegetable scraps. "Lisa, did you do this?" Mark stormed out holding the trash can, his face turning purple with rage. "Yeah, those walnuts were hard to crack. I spent ages hitting them with a hammer. Didn't you hear? Hear your mother's ass." He slammed the trash can on the floor. "Don't touch my things ever again, got it? Nothing in this house is yours." My expression turned cold. Mark slammed the door and left. Ethan looked terrified. "Mom, why is Dad so mad? Did I do something wrong again?" I sighed. "From now on, don't call him Dad, call him Uncle Mark." Mark and I were in a second marriage. My first husband, David, died in an accident, and I raised Ethan alone. Mark had severe oligospermia. He and his ex-wife tried IVF for 7 years with no success before divorcing. He was 7 years older than me, and I never planned to remarry until Mark pursued me. We met at a wedding. The first thing he said to me was, "Your little boy is so cute." I could tell he really loved kids. Back then, he was funny, steady, and patient. Even Ethan, who was sensitive and shy, couldn't help but get close to him. So when he started courting me, I didn't refuse. We got married 3 years after we met. He promised to give me a stable life and treat Ethan like his own son. But less than a year into the marriage, he changed. He ignored Ethan when he called him Dad. Once, he loved hearing that. He tuned me out when I asked for help. Once, he'd rush to do chores for me. When I asked for the monthly $3,500 household allowance, he snapped, "Don't you have money? Why can't you spend some of your own? I'm the only one paying for everything. I'm under so much pressure." But we'd agreed on this before we got married. The house and car were his. I didn't claim them or help with the loans. He'd give me $3,500 for groceries, utilities, toiletries, and housework. He wouldn't have to lift a finger. As for Ethan's other expenses, like tutoring and medical bills, I paid for them alone. His allowance was never enough, but I was willing to cover the difference. I just never thought he'd be the first to break his promise. Mark came home late that night, making a racket. When I opened the door, his mother, Margaret, his sister-in-law, Sarah, and Sarah's 15-year-old son, Tyler, were standing outside. Mark carried their luggage in and ordered me, "Clean out the study and Ethan's room. My mom and them are moving in." We had a 3-bedroom house. One for us, one for Ethan, one for the study. There was no extra space. I rubbed my temples. "Mark, we need to talk." Sarah laughed, sitting on the couch and sizing up the house like she owned it. "This is my brother's house, right? What right do you, a second-hand wife, have to talk to him? Eating his food, living in his house, and dragging around a kid. My brother isn't a fool. Stop bossing him around." Mark paused before entering the room, then snapped, "Do what I tell you. Stop being so difficult." I laughed bitterly. "Mark, you give me $3,500, not $35,000. I even secretly give you $1,000 extra for pocket money every month. The remaining $2,500 has to cover food, utilities, clothes, and all our necessities. Do you think that's enough?" Mark knew I was right, and his tone softened. But Sarah acted like she'd been stepped on. "Look, brother. She's complaining you don't give her enough. The snake has finally shown her true colors. She just wants to bring her bastard here to take your house and your money. Don't worry, I won't let her get away with it." She stormed into the study, threw my work files and reference books on the floor, and set Margaret's luggage on the desk. "Mom, tomorrow we'll sell this junk and buy a bed. This room is perfect for you." She then rushed into Ethan's room and pushed Tyler inside. "Tyler, this room is big enough. Keep whatever you want, and your uncle will buy you the rest." Tyler wasted no time shoving the tablet I'd bought Ethan into his pocket. I stepped forward coldly. "Put that down." He glared at me fiercely. "Who do you think you are, parasite?" Sarah smirked. "Exactly. Using my brother's money to buy your little parasite a tablet? How shameless." I snatched the tablet back from them. "I bought this with my own money. Everything in this room that belongs to Ethan is mine. I'll call the police if you touch anything else." Mark walked over with a cold face, snatched the tablet, and stuffed it into Sarah's hands. "What do you mean you bought it? You're living in my house. Have I asked you for rent? Without me, you and your son would be living on the street, begging for food. My nephew is my brother's only son. He'll be my son too, the one who takes care of me when I'm old. As his aunt, you have to give him whatever he wants. I don't want to hear a single no." I stared at Mark coldly. Finally, I understood why he'd changed so much. He wanted his nephew to take care of him in his old age, so now he thought Ethan was a burden. Seeing me stay silent, Mark thought I was scared. "Tell Ethan to get up and move out. He'll sleep in the living room from now on. He can do his homework in Mom's room during the day, but he has to be quiet at night. No disturbing Tyler." I ignored him, picked up the frightened Ethan, went back to our room, and started packing our bags. Outside, Sarah was pulling Margaret aside. "Mom, don't bother cleaning. I'll make that bitch do it. She's been married to you for a year and hasn't lifted a finger to take care of you. Spoiled her rotten. She'll do all the housework from now on. You just relax and enjoy yourself. Give me your pension and I'll save it for you. You won't have to worry about a thing." Margaret nodded, too weak-willed to argue. Sarah then turned to Mark, speaking in a concerned tone. "Brother, it's not too late to come to your senses. I told you blood is thicker than water. You insisted on raising someone else's kid, but now you see, right?" Mark sighed. "Sis, to be honest, I liked that kid at first. But living with him gets annoying. He doesn't look like me, he's timid and weak, no trace of my manliness. and thinking he's my wife's kid with another man, thinking about what they had before, it makes me sick. So I'd rather spend all my money on myself than on him. No other reason. I just want to get even. He spoke so loud I put headphones on Ethan and played cartoons for him. Oh, brother, don't be mad. Now that Tyler's here, you can focus on raising him. This kid is filial. He'll take you to eat and drink well when he's older, right, Tyler? Tyler shouted back, "You bet." "Hey, uncle, what's your Wi-Fi password?" "I'm gonna play a round of Wangzhe Honor of Kings." I ignored the noise outside, finished packing, booked a hotel and a ride, and got ready to leave with Ethan. Sarah was still holding Mark's hand, lecturing him. "Listen to me. You don't make that much money. Stop wasting it. From now on, keep $500 for yourself and give me the rest. Pick up a side gig, Uber, delivery, whatever. Tyler's in 9th grade, crucial for his studies. Spend some money on tutoring for him. When he succeeds, you'll benefit too. And divorce that wife of yours as soon as possible." Mark pulled his hand away immediately. "How can I do that? I hate her son, not her. As long as she—" He glanced at the doorknob as I turned it and raised his voice. "As long as she agrees to stop spending money on that kid alone, I'll feed him. Nothing more." "Lisa, what are you doing with that luggage?" I dropped Ethan off at the door first, then went back to grab the valuable things from his room, including the tablet. Then I stood in front of Mark. "My lawyer will draft the divorce papers and send them to you. Let me know if you have no objections, and we'll finalize it as soon as possible." Mark looked stunned. "You have no house, no car, you only make $5,000 a month. Where are you gonna go? Rent alone is $3,000 a month. You don't have enough money. It's none of your business. I have somewhere to go." David, my late husband, had left me 2 houses and hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. I'd never told Mark. It was for Ethan, my safety net, and the courage to walk away right now. Seeing I was really leaving, Mark panicked and tried to grab my luggage, but Sarah pulled him back. "Let her go. I've seen enough gold diggers like her. She's faking it. In a few days, she'll be back with that bastard, begging you to take her in." Mark tried to push her away. "Sis, Lisa isn't like that. Once she makes up her mind, nothing can change it. You're just stupid, tricked by her. Trust me, I won't hurt you. Just wait 3 days, 3 days. By the time I got in the Uber downstairs, Mark hadn't chased after me. I knew our relationship was over for good. Ethan squeezed my hand. "Mom, did Uncle Mark kick us out?" I smiled and booped his nose. "No, baby, we kicked him out. Only." I couldn't help but touch my stomach. This baby and I were never meant to be. The houses David left me were already rented out, in a busy area. Half the rent from one house was enough for me to rent a new 2-bedroom apartment. The day Ethan and I moved in, I promised to take him to Heidi Lal after school. But when we got to the school gate, Sarah's shrill voice rang out. "Everyone look. This kid's mom is a gold digger. She married my brother and does nothing but spend his money. She's divorcing him just because he didn't buy her kid ribs. She's a cheater. My brother is practically dying because of her." I rushed into the crowd and saw Ethan being held tightly by Sarah, his face covered in tears. "No, my mom isn't like that. She's not a cheater." Ethan tried to speak, but Sarah slapped him hard. "Shut up, bastard. You don't get to talk here." I was so angry my eyes turned red. I rushed over and slapped Sarah back. "Who gave you the right to touch my son?" Ethan threw himself into my arms, crying. I was so shintung my hands shook, but Sarah covered her face and smiled cunningly. "There you are, you slut. Mom, bring the thing over. Let everyone see what she really is." Margaret was sobbing hysterically, holding up a pregnancy test with 2 lines. "Daughter-in-law, what did Arjalja ever do to you? How could you do such a terrible thing? My son can't even. How are you pregnant?" I froze. I remembered that test. It was from 2 months ago, when my period was late. It had been my anniversary gift for Mark, a gift I'd been overjoyed to give him. But he'd forgotten our anniversary and had yelled at Ethan for the first time over a trivial matter, so I'd put it away. I'd thought I'd take it out again if Mark ever went back to the man he used to be, but he'd never given me that chance. Seeing me stunned, Mark stood up from the crowd. He had red eyes, a scruffy beard, and looked worn out, like he'd been through a breakdown. Lisa, how could you do this to me? Don't you know I've been worried sick about you and Ethan, scared you'd go hungry or cold. Is this how you repay me? No wonder you left so abruptly. You had a lover all along. Tell me, who is he? He threw the pregnancy test at me. Sarah pointed her finger at my nose. Everyone look. This is Ethan's mom, Lisa. My brother can't have kids, but she cheated and got pregnant. Like mother, like son. Don't let your kids play with Ethan. He'll be a bad influence. The crowd's eyes turned hostile, staring at Ethan and me with disdain and curiosity. Wow, Ethan's mom looks so nice. Who knew she was a cheater? Stay away from her. Who knows if she has a disease? Son, don't play with Ethan anymore. We can't afford to lose face. I dug my nails into my palm, staring at Mark coldly. You have oligospermia, not infertility. Why can't this baby be yours? Mark froze. The calm in my eyes made him hesitate for a moment. But Sarah jumped in. Of course it's not his. You couldn't get pregnant with IVF, but you get pregnant from one night? Are you kidding me? Brother, don't be fooled by her. Make her pay. Make her pay for your pain. I suddenly realized. You're only here to extort money, aren't you? Harassing us at Ethan's school and slandering me in front of everyone. Sarah avoided my gaze. We're not that petty. We just want everyone to see the truth. Enough. I cut her off. If it's Mark's baby, we can do a paternity test. Right now. Mark stared at me blankly. Lisa, could it really be? I pulled my hand away. Stop wasting time. Let's go. 2 hours later, a nurse found Mark. Mr. Carter? The patient asked me to give this to you. He tore it open eagerly. The results clearly said, paternity confirmed. Mark Carter is the biological father of the fetus. Mark went crazy with joy. He'd waited years, dreamed of this moment. It was a miracle. I'm having a baby. I'm gonna be a dad. He shouted, tears streaming down his face, and ran around the hospital lobby 3 times before stopping. He then asked anxiously, where's the mother? Where is she? Why hasn't she come out? The nurse looked at him strangely. I don't know. The lady left right after her abortion. Didn't you see her? Mark's face turned pale. Abortion? How could she abort it without our permission? Margaret screamed at the nurse, distraught. Just moments ago, she'd been overjoyed, thinking her favorite son was finally going to have an heir. Now it was a disaster. The nurse stepped back quickly. Calm down, sir. Don't touch me. It's the patient's right, her choice. Instead of asking me, think about what you did to her. The nurse left, leaving Margaret sobbing on the floor. What did we do to deserve this? We fed her well, even raised her bastard, and she won't even leave my son an heir. Sarah, who'd been hiding nearby, let out a sigh of relief. Mom, why are you crying? You still have Tyler, your own grandson. Besides, even with the test, it might be fake. Technology is so advanced now, she could have photoshopped it. Sarah suddenly felt a chill down her spine. Mark was staring at her coldly. Brother, what are you doing? I'm just trying to keep you from being fooled. You and your ex-wife tried IVF so many times and couldn't get pregnant. How did you get her pregnant in less than a year? Shut up. Mark roared. It's all your fault. Lisa aborted the baby. Sarah froze, then pouted. How is this my fault? The baby was in her stomach, not mine. She aborted it. Why are you yelling at me? Mark's eyes were red. It is your fault. If you hadn't talked me into ambushing Ethan at school, she wouldn't have done this. That's her precious son. How dare you hurt him? Sarah got angry too. How can you blame me? I didn't force you to go. Who was it that screamed and threw a fit when he saw the pregnancy test? I just told you not to contact her first, afraid she'd run away. You're the one who rushed to the bastard school. I was just trying to help, and you're accusing me. Sarah sat on the floor wailing. Mark clenched his fists, but didn't hit her. He covered his face like a helpless child, sobbing. But I didn't know any of this. I took Ethan home and asked my mom, Linda, to come stay and help for a few days. I told her everything that had happened. She was furious. That bunch of idiots. If they dare show their faces again, I'll tear them apart. I told her to calm down. I'd called the police about their slander, and there would be consequences. My mom looked at me shintoe. Sweetie, leave it to the lawyer. These days, don't think about anything. Just rest and get better. I took a few days off work and blocked all calls except work-related ones. The next day, my lawyer said Mark had apologized, agreed to publicly apologize and compensate me, and begged me to call him back. I refused. That afternoon, my mom picked Ethan up from school, looking triumphant. That guy was at the school gate with his mom and sister, handing out apology letters. You should have seen their faces. They looked like bitter melons. Everyone was pointing at them, calling them bullies and liars, saying they didn't deserve to live. I went up and yelled at them. They didn't dare say a word. That sister-in-law of his tried to talk back, but Mark gave her a look that shut her up. My mom rambled on, finally getting her revenge. But then she teared up. My poor girl, your first husband was taken too soon. Your second is a monster. Sweetie, I'll go get a fortune teller to find you a good man. Let the gods guide us. I laughed and stopped her. Mom, isn't it better just the three of us? She froze, then smiled, torn between worry and joy. You're still young, living with an old lady like me isn't right. I just asked, don't you want to see me and Ethan every day? She hesitated, then said, well, okay. I'll go back to my hometown to wrap things up, then come here to take care of Ethan full-time. With me here, you don't have to worry about them bothering you. I can yell them into submission. My mom talked on, getting happier. I knew she'd been lonely since my dad died, but she'd never said anything, afraid to worry me. I'd been so focused on giving Ethan a father that I'd ignored the people who loved me most. Now, the three of us together was perfect. After resting, I went back to work and dropped Ethan off at school every morning. One day, as I was leaving, someone called my name. Lisa. I turned around, it was Mark. He looked even more haggard than before, thin, hunched over, like he'd aged 10 years overnight. Do you have any objections to the divorce papers? I'd told my lawyer to pass that message to him. I'd only see him if he agreed to divorce. Mark frowned in pain. I just need 2 minutes. Can we talk? I won't take up more of your time. I looked into his persistent eyes and nodded. 2 minutes. Start the clock. He looked hurt but didn't waste time. Lisa, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you and Ethan that way. I was stupid. You know, I've never had my own kids, so I was scared. Scared of growing old alone. I know you didn't marry me for money. You just wanted Ethan to have a complete family. But I was afraid that if we fought, Ethan would stop calling me dad, afraid he'd change when he grew up. And Sarah kept sending me videos of adopted kids abandoning their parents, leaving them in nursing homes to die. I just lost my mind. He trailed off embarrassed. I finished for him. So you stopped giving me the monthly allowance for 3 months and yelled at Ethan for no reason. But you never told me any of this. You just trusted Sarah and even moved your family in without talking to me. Not to mention ambushing us at Ethan's school and slandering me in front of everyone. I can understand your fear, but I can never forgive you for being so selfish and cowardly. Mark looked guilty, his head hanging low. I know. I don't ask for your forgiveness, but Lisa, can we not get divorced? I'll send Sarah and Mom away. I'll do anything to earn back your trust and Ethan's. Look, this is a toy for Ethan, the latest one. He'll love it. And these ribs, I'll cook them for him tonight. I looked at the bag of fresh ribs and felt sick. My mom had made ribs every day since she'd been here. Ethan was already tired of them. No, I checked the time, 2 minutes were up. Besides, Mark, are you really just trying to make up for us? Or do you want something else? Mark met my eyes for a second, then looked away. I knew what he was thinking. He wanted his own child. He'd tried IVF for years and failed, but I'd gotten pregnant. So he thought I could get pregnant again. Maybe he was truly sorry, but he definitely wanted me to have his baby. Like I said, call me when you're ready to divorce. Don't wait too long. I'll file a lawsuit. With that, I turned and walked away, not looking back. I saw Mark again a month later, at the county clerk's office. He looked calmer. We got divorced amicably. He said he'd have a moving company send my and Ethan's things to our new place. I had no objections. But as we walked out, I saw Sarah. She stormed toward Mark, grabbing him and starting to fight. You lying bastard. You told me you'd renovate Tyler's room. Then you kicked us out. You've been wanting to get rid of us all along, haven't you? I then found out what had happened. After Mark and I stopped talking, Sarah had moved into his house for good. She'd even kicked him out of the master bedroom and made him hand over his entire paycheck. Brother, you see now, women and kids outside are unreliable. Only family matters. You should give Tyler more of your money and property so he knows you care. Otherwise, when you're old, he won't look after you. Even Margaret had said, Tyler is the only boy in our family. Who else will take care of you when you're old? Mark finally realized his family, his own blood, were just leeches, trying to suck him dry. He'd wanted to argue, but he was too busy trying to win me back, busy working to pay the mortgage, with no time to rest. During that time, life seemed to settle down. Margaret did the housework and cooked. Sarah focused on Tyler. Tyler played video games all day and never listened to his mom. He even got called to the principal's office 3 times a week. Mark thought he could put up with it since I had no plans to take him back. But one day, Sarah started sending him videos and articles again. Old man with no kids dies alone in nursing home. No one cares. If you don't plant seeds when you're young, you'll have no fruit when you're old. Touching. Nephew delivers meals to his lonely uncle with a drone. 1,600 days and counting. Mark didn't feel anything anymore. He just felt sick. That night, Sarah lectured him like she was his mother. I've told you 100 times. Get a side gig and pay for Tyler's tutoring. Why won't you listen? And stop messing around with that woman. Tyler doesn't even like you anymore. If you keep this up, he'll hate you forever. Mark held back his anger. What do you want? I'm exhausted from work. I don't have time for a side gig. Sarah smiled. I'm not forcing you. But just feeding the kid isn't enough. Why don't you transfer your house and car to Tyler? Don't worry. It's just a gesture. We won't touch them. We just want Tyler to see your sincerity. It was the same request. Mark was furious. He'd made up his mind to kick them out. But as he stood up to yell, Tyler, who was 15 and already 6 feet tall, stood up too. What's your problem, Uncle? Who are you yelling at? Mark admitted he was scared. So he lied. I'll renovate the house first. It's too old, Tyler won't like it. I'll pay for it. You guys stay somewhere else for a while. Sarah believed him, thrilled. But after 2 days, she called Mark and found out she'd been blocked. That's why she'd rushed here to find him. If Mom hadn't told me you were getting divorced today, I would have never found you. Give me the house keys now. Mark didn't hold back this time. He pushed her away. Who do you think you are telling me what to do? Get out of here. Take your useless son with you. I don't want anything to do with you. Sarah fell to the ground, throwing a tantrum. Mark ignored her. He turned to say something to me, but I'd already walked away. I heard about Mark again a few months later. He was dead. Tyler had killed him. I was shocked. My mom was too when she told me. Our neighbor Mrs. Liu said so. Her son is a cop. Shortly after our divorce, Mark had met a new girlfriend, a divorced woman with a kid. He'd been upfront with her. If she could have his baby, he'd transfer his house to her. But she wasn't stupid. After learning about his oligospermia, she made him sign an agreement. Even if she couldn't get pregnant, he'd have to give her a settlement, and he'd pay for all their living expenses while they lived together. Mark agreed. He'd had a fortune teller read her fortune. She was blessed with many children and would definitely give him an heir. The woman was tough. She'd yell at Mark if he didn't do what she wanted. Her son was no better, an 8-year-old who called Mark old man every day. The two of them did nothing at home, waiting for Mark to come back to clean and cook. The only time they lifted a finger was to ask for money. Mark put up with it. He even enjoyed it. He'd do anything to have a child. And sure enough, the woman got pregnant 3 months later. Mark wanted a paternity test, but she slapped him twice. Test your mom. Don't think I don't know how you treated your last wife. I'm not a pushover. Take it or leave it. If you don't want it, give me money and I'll abort it. Mark didn't dare argue. He was so desperate, he would have raised the baby even if it wasn't his. But his family didn't agree. Margaret cried on the phone every day. "I don't mind you kicking me out, but you can't let a bastard take our last name." His brother texted him, calling him a fool. "You're so desperate to be a cuckold? You won't raise your own nephew, but you'll raise some stranger's kid? Why don't you just die?" Sarah even showed up at his house. "You heartless bastard. What's wrong with Tyler? Why is he worse than this bitch's bastard? Tell me." But the new girlfriend poured a bucket of hot urine over her head. Sarah screamed, and Tyler, seeing his mom humiliated, rushed at her. The woman was pregnant and couldn't stand a 200-pound teenager. Mark rushed to protect her, but Tyler pushed him hard. Mark fell, hitting his head on the floor, and suffered a brain hemorrhage. The ambulance came, but he was pronounced dead on arrival. The only one who grieved was Margaret. Her favorite son was gone, killed by her favorite grandson. Mark was buried soon after by his new girlfriend. She wanted his inheritance and refused to do a paternity test. Legally, the baby in her belly was considered his. Mark's family tried to stop her, but they were too late. By the time they got to the funeral home, Mark had already been cremated. They almost went to court, fighting over his money, but none of them got anything. Because Mark had left most of his property to me when we divorced. The promises he'd made to his new girlfriend were empty. Maybe he'd known he'd never be lucky enough to have a child again. Facing the truth was far more painful than living in ignorance. He chose to lie and deceive, and he paid the price. As for me, I was already living happily with my mom and Ethan. Our tomorrow would only get better.